Hey guys, today we're just going to go over three stances. The first stance is going to be Zenkutsu-dachi, which is front stance, back stance, which is Kokutsu-dachi, and the third stance is Kiba-dachi, which is horse stance or straddle stance. All right. For the front stance, you want to make sure the weight distribution is going to be 60% or 70% on the front leg, 30 or 40% on the back leg. Now, your back foot is always going to be pointed 45. You do not want it to be straight. Make sure it's 45. Push that heel out, 45 degrees. And the front foot, you want to make sure your front foot is slightly turned inside, this way. And your knee is over your big toe. All right? Just like this. Hip squared whenever you're punching, or izuki. And whenever you do a block, your hips are going to be on an angle. Now, when you turn your hips on an angle, do not make your front knee dig in this way. Right? You want to leave your knee where it is and turn your hips. Right? From the side. Now, when my hips are on an angle this way, my knee is just bent slightly. Straight, slight bent. Now, when I push to punch, or to have my hips square, I'm pushing, I'm using, the force is coming from the bottom up. So, I'm pushing off of my heel to twist that hip. And back. Push off the heel, and back. Our second stance is going to be Kokutsu-dachi, which is back stance. So the weight distribution for back stance is going to be 70% on the back leg and 30% on the front leg. All right. So with your knee is going to be over your toes here, just this way. Just like your front stance. The way that your knee is in the front stance is the same way it's going to be when you do your Kokutsu-dachi. Alright? Do not push your knee out this way and have your foot come up the floor like this. It should not have your foot should not come up this way. It should not have a little cuff. It should be flat. If you do it this way, that is completely wrong. Make sure it's flat. Here. Alright? Front knee, toes are straight, coming at you. There. Make sure your hips are not bent this way. Make sure your hips, the butt is in, back straight. The third stance is going to be Kiba-dachi. Kiba-dachi is horse stance or straddle stance. Weight distribution for this is going to be 50-50. So it's going to be even on both sides. You want to make sure your heels pushed out. Toes are straight. Same thing with your knees. Your hair straight down should be the same as in Kokutsu-dachi or your Zenkutsu-dachi, where your knee is here. Just right. 50-50 on each side. Make sure your toes are this way. That's Shotokan, which is here, toes out. Kiba-dachi, horse stance, you want your toes to be straight. Same thing, back straight. Make sure you're not leaning, your butt is out. Make sure your hips are in, back straight. Now, whenever you do your kata or basics in these stances, you always want to make sure that you're keeping the same height. You want to make sure that you're not always coming up and down. Now, when you're stepping into, let's say, Zenkutsu-dachi, front stance, you want to make sure your knees are in, tight, and out. Back, and back. All right? Try not to come up each time. Same thing with Kokutsu-dachi. Keeping the same height. All right? Legs always come in this way. Boom. All right? That's very crucial when you're doing your kata, not to come up and down. Another thing that you guys want to focus on when you do your kata is the length of the stance. So you'll see a lot of people when they step into their stances here, it's because their stance is so long that they can't step properly straight. And so what they have to do is they have to maneuver, then step. All right? You kind of don't want that because you want your stance to be as comfortable as possible so you can move smoothly into your next stance. So from here, good stance here. You want to make sure everything is squeezed so you can move smooth into that next stance. So if you have to adjust or anything, because your stance is so long, Zen shouldn't look like this anyway. So if you see a Zen like this, it's most likely it's going to be wrong. All right, or Kiba-dachi here, that's too long because in order to move into your next stance, Kokutsu-dachi, you have to come up to move into your next stance, and you don't want that. All right, and also you'll see some people to make their moves faster, they adjust, which I mean from here. So if I'm going to turn into behind, instead of moving this way, which is correctly, they'll go to make their move faster. They'll move that back leg just to spin around to make their move quick, which you don't want that. That's incorrect movement. So that is it for today for stances. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me.